the correct session tonight is second session of 3, CHCPRP003, reflect on and improve on professional practice. I'm not feeling guilty that I can't remember which one I did last week. I can barely remember my breakfast most days, so that's why. So I know we usually go over this. So this unit describes the skills and knowledge required to evaluate and enhance own practice through process of reflection and ongoing professional development. The unit applies to workers in all industry sectors who take proactive responsibility for their own professional development. So this is, it's not for every certificate for, but it is for most of them. It might be a core module, but it's anybody that's doing, most industries are going to say, look, you need to analyze your own work. And if you're not getting better every year, all the time, then what is the industry or what is the company doing for you? You might as well not be here if you're not actually getting better and better. That's why so many industries are making sure that they're paying for us to get professional development. So to be better last year at something, to be better than last year than at something than I should be this year. So getting better all the time, and then getting better next year from something that I was okay at this year or not very good at this year. So professional development. And when you study certain things like community services, there's such a heavy emphasis on reflection, evaluation of ourselves, that it's good that AOD doesn't have a work placement, because a lot of the placements in like counseling and a lot of the community services, for every client face-to-face contact that you've got, which might be like 45 minutes, you might then have to do an appraisal of yourself for what happened in that session. So, and this is to start you off on the right track. So that even 2 or 3 years down the line, once you've qualified as a social worker or a caseworker, then you're still evaluating your own practice, and you're still, after every single session, saying, I did that great, but this is where I could get better each time. And it's not about criticism. It's not about self-criticism, especially with working with psychologists and mental health workers. They're not out to just say, oh, I didn't do this very well all the time. It's about, when we evaluate ourselves, we have to say, I did that really, really good. And we have to pick out the places that we do that. Sometimes it's really difficult to be honest, to be as honest as that. A lot of people, probably most people, would be more open to saying, yeah, I messed up quite obviously with that one. And they wouldn't mind openly saying that, but to get them to take the next step and say, actually, but this I did really well. This I do really well a lot, all the time. That's really hard to say. So when we're doing a personal evaluation, it reminds me of the AA or NA 12-step program that says that you've got to take a full personal inventory. And you might have heard this, you might not have heard this. I'm not saying that the 12-step program is the best method all the time, but when they say to take a full personal inventory, they are meaning to take negative and positive issues that we have going on and say, okay, I'm struggling with this, but this really works for me, and this is where I'm doing really well. Because part of the growth through the 12-step thing is getting more, not just confidence in ourselves, but also to get empowerment and get growth and build ourselves up. So that's all about the personal evaluation and looking at reflecting on reflecting and improving our professional practice. So I'll start the PowerPoint. So looking at an overview of the session, we're looking at development plans, we're looking at self-care, and I wanted to look at the assessment, or at least one assessment. Probably not the role play. If there is one, I'll have a check. So just to start off, no, that's not going to work. Sorry. So to start off, we'll just do a bit of research. How do you learn? There is, depending on how we communicate with people, quite often tells us how we um, learn from life as well. So we can learn through auditory methods if somebody's talking to us. Like some people could sit and listen to one of these sessions and they'll remember everything and they'll know everything from it. That's not me, but I can listen a bit, but I would probably get distracted. Other people, it doesn't matter what they hear, but they have to see something. And they would, it doesn't matter what's going on in the background. There might be screaming kids, there might be loud noises, it could be traffic. But as long as they can see it, then they'll learn from it. And we might be a bit of both, but then there's a third way that's called kinesthetic, which is doing. So if we don't learn as much from listening, we don't learn as much from watching until we actually do it and put it into practice ourselves. That's when we actually learn. Most people are a bit of everything, and the biggest group is the people that are doers. So if you're somebody that can know something just by hearing it, then you're in a specialized majority or specialized minority, sorry. And if you're part of a group that learns something just by looking, you can read a book and then you know all about it. Maybe a genius or something. That's another specialized minority. Most of us, we've got to actually get hands on before we can learn anything about something. So figure out some statistics, find out what you might be. I'll write the proper words in the chat, the words that you're looking for. Auditory, people that listen and learn. Visual, obviously people that look and learn. And tactile is one word, sorry. And then there's kinesthetic. Try and describe who you would be. Sorry, try and describe which group you would be in, and what percentage of the population would you be? And how do you know? Like, try to think of an example of when you know that that's how you learn something. Just depends on the activity. Yeah, that's true. Um, I can remember a science lesson when I was in high school thinking, I'm listening to the guy and I'm not learning anything. I haven't got a clue what he's talking about. Wow, that's like a HSC answer, that, Darcy. I definitely say I'm an amalgamation of everything, but it isn't until the actual act of doing what I've learned where I really assimilate the information or the task. It's almost like you could answer that on a psychology exam or something. Um, okay. Um, when we need help or when we need to get help in life, we've got options. We've got a mentor, somebody who would try and be almost in the problem with us. A guide is somebody that not isn't necessarily wanting to be in a problem with us. They might be outside of the problem, pointing us where to go, pointing where we need to go. And then we've got constructive feedback. That is, it's constructive because that's what the other person is intending. We don't always take it as constructive, especially if it's from somebody that's very, very close to us. It's generally the closer the person is, the harder it is to take constructive feedback quite often. Um, it's um, it's a very brave person that can, or a very honest and brave person that can take feedback, constructive feedback from like a partner or a parent or a child, even. That's quite a shocker. So a mentor is there with us, trying to help us find the right track or the right route. A guide is not necessarily in there with us, but he is trying to help, or they are trying to help us. And then constructive feedback is that could be either, but we don't often feel like they understand where we are or where we're wanting to go, and they would give us feedback, and it's not really. We might feel like they're looking down on us. I just want to give you a first video. Um, this guy is really, really good, Simon Sinek. Um, that's the video. I'll put it in the chat and I'll pause the recording. But the pay Simon Sinek a lot of money to talk to like business leaders all over the world about being a better manager, about being a better business owner, and about self-development, really. So when we're looking at trying to um, develop ourselves, evaluate ourselves, first of all, like I said earlier, we've got to be honest about who we are, honesty about the positives and the negatives about who we are is very, very important. Um, and we've also got to look at how we can develop ourselves. Now, people like, or people the same kind of person as this guy would tell us that yes, we do need to develop our weaknesses. We have to know what weaknesses we have to know what weaknesses we have, but focusing on our weaknesses is not the goal of life. We have to ideally the best sports people, the best entrepreneurs, the biggest business people don't focus on the weaknesses, they focus on their strengths. So the best athletes, the best sports people, the best billionaires, they focus on what they can do well and they develop that as much as they can. And then they look at the weaknesses and say, how much time can I put into this? How much time can I develop this? And if they can't work on it themselves, then they'll get somebody else to come in, especially if they're rich. If they're like cashed up, they'll buy somebody in to compensate for their weaknesses. Because the idea is to focus on your strengths, put a lot of money into, put a lot of time, effort, and finances into what you're good at, and make it the best you possibly can. That's what they're telling us to do. Whether I said that last week because I've just remembered, and Lisa's mentioned, she didn't contradict me, but she did say it was something different. That if we lived like that, then we would never be able to, we would only see what we can't do, and we would never necessarily go into drugs and alcohol issues or mentorship, even. Potentially, Merzit, it's not it's not how you are, it's how you know it's the same. Colin Merzit, I'm not quite sure I understand that one. Where is he? Or is it Ashley? Where is where'd they gone? Maybe they're cleaning the house and they're trying to listen at the same time. Okay. Merzit, you can tell me later. Um, all right. Looking at mentorship, if Simon Sinek's described mentorship, where can you get one and when might you need one? That's two questions. I'll write them down in the chat. We've got 5 minutes to just have a look through this. I'm going to say coach as well. So a mentor or a coach, we quite often think of coach as a sports person, but it doesn't have to be. And when we think of a coach as a sports person, when we bring that into normal life or education or employment, a coach in that environment is a is a real good help. But when so with constructive feedback, we'll look at this video in a sec. After far out. Why there's so many videos tonight? With constructive feedback, we need to, it's almost called criticism, but even criticism doesn't have to be a negative term. So we have to be ready for criticism, yes, and we have to be ready for constructive feedback. Um, like with a professional development review, quite often you might get them maybe once a year, maybe you get them 2 or 3 times a year in, or if you're on a like a probationary period at work, you might get one every month or so. And the idea is to get somebody to a certain standard and give them the feedback that they need to keep going and keep restructuring themselves into the role that they're meant to be working in. Um, Now, the thing is that when people get constructive feedback, the person that's given the feedback isn't really bothered about how the other person's going to feel. It's the person giving the feedback is simply say, they might as well just be saying, all right, you need to turn left there or you need to turn right there. Um, and when the person receiving the feedback is feeling more like, I know, but I really felt like I wanted to go left. It looks so much better there. And they're being told, no, you need to go in the opposite direction. Don't go that way. And if we're disagreeing with the constructive feedback, first of all, we have to take it and say, is there any part of that that might be true? Is there any part of that that is correct? Sometimes we might need to take it to somebody else that we trust and say, hey, this person says I need to do this. Do you think that's true? And when partner or parent says, you need to stop doing that because it makes you sound whatever, then it's quite typical for somebody to go to their mates and say, hey, so and so said I'm like this. And everybody bursts out laughing and says, yeah, duh. It's obvious. How can you not know that? Then obviously we need to take it on the chin and make some amendments. But in the middle of all that, we have to look after ourselves. Like um, constructive feedback can't be the be all and end all. It can't be the main thing where we just keep twisting ourselves to be something that we weren't in the first place, and end up really, really unhealthy at the end of it all. So we've got to look after ourselves. We've got to keep focusing on self-care as we're taking on advice, criticism, which is a good word. Um, yes, Lukey, go for it.
Of things. I just think
Hello, Luke, you disappeared then. All right. Um, lived experience is an important word. Yeah, Darcy's just mentioned lived experience, and that is there's a lot of jobs in the mental health sector, in the community services, sorry. A lot of jobs in the community services sector that are asking for lived experience, whatever that area is, whether it's mental health, AOD, NDIS even. Um, you can't really do it in the aged care because you can't have lived experience yet, but might work. Totally agree with Billy. I think what I get out of mentorship is having someone guide you that has invaluable lived experience, irrespective of age. It's also useful to have an objective and somewhat unbiased opinion to give advice and constructive criticism. It's important to have the objective. If criticism, positive or negative criticism, doesn't have an objective, that's almost the time that we can think this might not be worth me listening to. If there's no objective around it, or if there's no goal or plan or no advice of how to get from where you are into that place that they're saying you need to be. Did we talk about the guide before now talking about constructive feedback? And not yet, learning guide. I've got that ready. I did open that. So I'll do that just before break. All good, Luke. So self-care, trying to remember self-care, mindfulness practices, healthy diet, time off, personal relationships. Because there was a Danish psychologist 200 years ago, and he said the definition of anxiety is getting somebody to try to do something that they're unable to do. Einstein said that it's like trying to get a fish to ride a bicycle. If you evaluated a fish trying to ride a bicycle and said the fish can't ride a bicycle, so he's useless. But if you evaluate the fish on what it is good at, then the fish will be a lot happier. And this Danish psychologist said anxiety is trying to force somebody time and time and time again to do something that they can't do. Which means that if we're all about development and reflecting on what we're not good at, on what is difficult for us and how we need to change, we're going to end up seriously mentally ill, and we're going to end up on some um, we're going to end up a lot more unhappy than we were in the first place. So we've got to focus on self-care. We've got to focus on whatever it is that keeps us mindful. Whether that's like meditation, breathing exercises are good to learn. Exercise can knowing how to relax. I don't mean knowing how to sleep, but knowing how to relax and get our body and brain to turn off certain things that we want to turn it off. Healthy diet, the right things. That is personal research, because there is a healthy diet for humans, but then trying to analyze that and saying, well, I don't do as much exercise as somebody else, so I'm going to need less of this. I might be gluten intolerant, I might be celiac. So having a look at what my diet is for me that's like a life goal, because you change as well. What your body tolerated when you were in your 20s doesn't tolerate when you're in your 40s and 50s and 60s. So because your body's changing all the time, things that worked here many years ago start to not work, and we have to change and get new things that work for us. Time off, maybe like a few years ago, an hour or two just downtime might have worked. Now we might need to change it to just having a day out during the week and just completely refocusing on life and everything that we need to do. And then relationships. The relationships make or break us. And talking to a lot of people in rehab that say, I don't want people in my life because people got me into the problems that started me on a downward spiral. People ruined my life. People are toxic. So I'm good to just leave people alone and let me get on with my recovery all by myself. While it's true that people are toxic, people will ruin us, people will drag us down, people are also going to be the ones that are going to help us up, mentor us, guide us, and help us develop. So while we can't ruin our life on our own, other people are going to help us. We can't recover our life on our own, and we have to look out for the right relationships that are going to develop us. So I wanted to look at assessments after break, which means right now I need to look at the learning guide, the correct learning guide. So as you know, we're on second session. Personal beliefs and values was last week. A little bit about who we are, the way we learn. This week, mentor and supervision. So this is where we are right now. And then we've got one more week, obviously, we'll do some role play next week. But I want to look at in depth at the questions. I reckon a lot of people have finished the questions, but I just wanted to look at the questions after break. So we'll leave it there until 7:10.
Recording in progress.
Okay, so we're going to split into groups, definitely going to split into groups, and we'll feed back with the evaluated answers that people have come up with. So I've got 4 groups set up, and everybody's going to take a few questions each. So you'll need to either screenshot or take a photo with your phone as I go through the questions, and use the learner guide and use Google. The learner guide obviously is going to be the most straightforward one. You're not going to get massive detail from the learning guide, but it is going to help you start off. Like question 1 is going to be near the beginning of the learner guide and then going down like that. But to get some really good detail, which some of them do need, you need more than just a few words for some of them. You're going to need to look elsewhere. When you're referencing as well, just in case I've never mentioned it, it's not good enough just to say, give the quote and say the Hader Learning Guide. If it's important information like statistics, then go to the source. So you want, if it's legislation, what's the date of the legislation, and what's the title of legislation? What's it called? If it's stats, where did it come from? Did it come from the ABS? Did it come from the National Drug Survey? Did it come from private health network? Which state territory was it done in? And that's standard. That's what we need to do. Just somebody's asked something. I'm not using my phone. Okay, yeah, no problem. So I'll split everybody up, and I've split everybody up. I've made the group, so we're ready to go. I'm just going to go through the questions. So I've got group one is Arund, Brock, Jack, and Michael. You can do the first three questions. Arund, Brock, Jack, and Michael. So it's question one, question two, three. Can you see this? Can you see my screen? Yeah, good. Four. Korea's a long time. That's a massive question. Explain how will you ensure your knowledge and skills are current throughout your career. Break that down a bit to start with. Like most people can't plan their whole career into a couple of sentences. So question one, question two, question three, question four. Did you get them? Group two is Briani, Kim, and Nikita. So that's 5, 6, 7, and 8. Can I get that any bigger? Yes. So describe an example of how you've demonstrated each of the following legal and ethical considerations within your professional practice. Professional practice is just a complicated way of saying your work life. Like how does this work to your how does it work in your place of work? You could be a barista, you could be a tradie, you could be in community services. So how do these apply in your area? 6, how can you network with other sector professionals? 3 examples, 7 and 8. 7 and 8. I'll jump into the rooms as well, just in case you miss any. So the next one is Glenn, John, and Merzit. 9, 10, and 11, 12. So 9, identify the learning style of 2 peers you work closely with and explain how you can improve their learning process. Sorry. You can do this for the group, like somebody that you're working with in the group, or you can think about somebody at work, or you can think about somebody at home. I'm not marking these tonight, but you legitimately could have some of your answers done if you haven't got them. Which group's Billy in? Oh, Billy's in the last one. And if you, not just Billy, if you have actually done it, that doesn't mean you stay silent. Give advice, like suggest something. So 9, 10. Explain how we learn through feedback and reflection. Why is this important? Consider a goal in regards to your study for this qualification. Write this goal below and complete the table to explain why your goal is SMART. We haven't really looked at SMART goals yet, but it's not an AOD thing. You might have heard them outside in the industry. When working in AOD and mental health, it's all about goals. We don't change our life unless we set goals and put plans in place to try and achieve each goal. So if we're not good at goal setting for ourselves, we're not going to be able to help somebody set and try and achieve a goal. Because when we fail at reaching a goal and we miss it, we have to reevaluate and say, okay, that goal might be wrong, so I'll set a shorter one, maybe, um, or a much shorter one. And 12. And then last one, we've got Billy, Coco, Darcy, and Lisa for the last two questions. Oh, big scenarios. Okay. You might have missed some, but I'll jump into some of the rooms just to get you any that you missed. But it is on Accelerate. This is the first assessment on Accelerate. And if you haven't got the learning guide as well, I'll have that. So I'll open them now. Well, we'll be doing this for about 15 minutes. So it's about 20 past, it's just after 20 past now. Nearly 22. We'll finish. Differently. So we'll just go through them. Let me share the screen. Like I said, some of the questions, two people are going to take them two very different ways. So different ideas is helpful. Um, so first of all, we've got a huge group of Jack and Michael. I'm not quite sure why. Jack and Michael were on their own. All right. Go for it, guys. Question one. What did you get?
Yeah, so question, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yep. Question one, we had return to study, have a mentor others, attend sector conferences, be an active member of an alumni group, Facebook, Twitter, podcast, LinkedIn, industry sites, subscribe to journals, magazines, blogs.
Some good ideas there. Yeah, definitely. Great, thanks. Number two, describe how you've used a mentor to support your professional development. Explain how this was helpful to achieve your personal or professional goals. So, sorry, like I said to these guys, this question, it's literally asking you how you've thought, how somebody said to you, don't do it like that, do it like this, in whatever job or in whatever role. Maybe it's volunteering, maybe it's some personal issue that somebody said, don't do it like the way you've been doing it, do it like this instead. And don't say, no, I've never had that happen. Or don't say, well, I didn't listen to them because they were wrong. That's not what it's asking. It's asking you to think about a specific time that this has happened. So thank you. Go for it.
I'll jump in first. So
Yep.
my example was when I graduated from massage school many years ago, I went to work for my chiropractor, and he was really great. He would take me through the presenting condition of his clients to deepen my knowledge. He demonstrated advanced techniques for assessment and treatment. He taught me to improve my note-taking skills, which was great. And he also shared his experience with, setting up and running a clinic. So he gave me, a lot of valuable advice for much later on down the track when I had my own clinic.
Wow, cool. That's great. Thanks. Number 3, explain why having a mentor is helpful in your future career.
Do you want me to grab this one, Michael, or do you
Yeah,
want to?
yeah. So a mentor has often walked the path that I'm currently on, so they can offer insights to the challenges and opportunities that I might face. Their experiences can help me improve, avoid common pitfalls, and make informed decisions rather than learning everything by the hard way.
Nice. 4, explain how you will ensure your knowledge and skills are current throughout your career.
Quite simply, consistent engagement with learning opportunities and skill upgrades. Remain connected with your associations. And also, we felt that choosing to mentor others was probably a really good thing to do to keep you engaged with your own career and enthusiastic about it, because
That's a good idea, yeah.
we get a little same old if it's just for ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I'm not marking these tonight. This is just so that everybody gets ideas to think of optional answers. You might not have you might not be a massage therapist like Jack, but it might trigger something in your head that you think, oh yeah, well, yeah, I can answer it like that. Similar to that by my own life, really. So Bryony, Kim, and Nikita, number 5. Are they here? Should we jump to a different? Oh, there it is. Yeah.
I'm here. I didn't do number 5.
Okay.
I think one of the others may have.
Okay.
No, we didn't. We didn't. I don't think Tim did it. He didn't as well. So I got number
6. You did. I
number
did
6.
7.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's have a look at 6. Explain how you can network with other sector professionals. Provide at least 3 examples of how you would network.
Yeah. I answered that one. First response is attend industry events and conferences.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah.
Participate in seminars, trade shows, and conferences allow you to meet professionals in your field, stay updated and on industry trends, and engage in meaningful discussions. You can
Nice.
exchange contact details and follow up with potential collaborators.
Yeah.
Second, do you want to go, Kim? No?
I did 7.
All right. 7. Yep.
So
What
we've
additional
got
training could you undertake to complement or enhance your current skills for community services work? So this is whether you're working in community services or not. Like, how could you upskill yourself?
well, I've got the enhancing communication and calibration. So
Okay.
like budgeting, community communication gaps, providing access to devices, support, knowledge, and sharing and training. So you've got like setting up meetings and organizing the training and that people need and that kind of stuff.
Brilliant. So that was 5, 6, 7, and 8.
8.
Describe preferred learning style and explain why this is effective.
Sorry, guys, just attending my son.
That's all right, no problem.
With number 8, I'm more of a physical learner.
Okay.
Just being by hands-on. So in my industry, you're dealing with a lot of grinders, a lot of hands-on tools. You sort of, I don't know, you get better by just feeling how it's used on the material, and you just learn by experience as you go along. Really, that's how I've sort of done it. Yeah.
Okay, great. So for the next one, it's Glenn John Merzit and a telephone number. I'm not quite sure. Was that Luke, maybe? I'm not putting that telephone number on screen, so that's all right. So 9. Number 9, identify the learning style of 2 peers you work closely with and explain how you can help improve their learning experience.
Okay, I'll
Pretty
jump
full on
in.
in a group. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so we didn't get to all of our questions, but
All right.
I think the example was given was one of my peers prefers to learn by listening through discussions, podcasts, and conversation. So
Okay.
yeah, they're auditory, and the second example there was through written materials, such as articles, notes, books, taking notes, and so forth. So they're 2 different examples of learning styles.
Great. On to number 10. Explain how we learn through feedback and reflection. Why is this important?
I can read the answer out because I have done this. We learn through feedback and reflection by examining how our actions produce certain outcomes, identifying what worked well and what needs improvement, and then adjusting or approaching it accordingly by seeking feedback from peers, mentors, or supervisors. We gain fresh perspectives on our practice, reflections help us internalize those insights, refine our skills, and apply better strategies in future situations. This process is important because it promotes continuous professional growth, ensures we maintain high standards, and ultimately improves the quality of our work.
Sounds good. Great, Merzit. Thanks. Number 11. Consider a goal in regards to your study. This is good. Just if you haven't done SMART goals, you guys, then that's fine. But if you have, then that's brilliant, and you can jump in.
Yeah, so we didn't get to this one, Dwayne.
That's fine. Okay. Did you get to 12?
No.
All right.
We kind of with the previous answer that Merzit gave, it was great, but it was quite kind of long, and we got into a discussion about how long these answers should be, and we're not quite sure.
All right. You're looking at a couple of sentences at least, usually. Maybe it does not matter how big the box is. Usually it's like 2, maybe 3 sentences at least. It's very rare that you can describe something in less than 1 or 2 sentences. Sometimes you've got to go further than that. When it's and a lot of times the key is the main word in, you can see this, can't you? The main word in the question, consider, is you don't have to write a lot for that. But on the first question there, outline, that's wanting more than just 1 or 2 sentences. Describe, a description, that's wanting 3 or 4 sentences. Explain is the next level. And that's apparently how we learn. We outline things, then we describe them because we put more detail on the outline. Then once we explain it, that means that we really understand it. So describe isn't as long as explain, but explain is the longest, and it's going to be quite a detailed explanation. So going down there, outline, describe, explain, describe, explain. What additional training could you? That's a short answer straight away. Identify, that's a short answer. And yeah, once you get to see and pick out the word that you're looking for, you know exactly what amount of detail you need for it. So let's jump to 13. That was that Billy, Coco, Darcy, and Lisa? Or Billy, Coco, and Darcy anyway.
Sorry, Dwayne, for the consider a goal in regards to your study. So what's that mean?
Consider a goal in regards. Oh, sorry, yeah. So these, I want to come back to this in a minute because when everybody's finished, I don't mind that they didn't get onto this because this is quite a detailed thing. And we'll talk about that after break. The other one was, oh, that's a case study. So that's fine. So these last two, 13, this scenario, and 14, describe the process and principles of creating a personal development plan. There's a good video for that, but what have you guys got?
To be
We
honest,
didn't get
sorry,
to.
oh, there you go.
I was just going to say that we didn't get to 14 as such, Dwayne. We were mainly going over the scenario as a group, and
that's fine.
And just having a look at revisiting the John's model, Gibbs model, and I don't think we looked at the Atkins and Murphy's model. At least I wasn't there for that one, but I was just having sort of a little look at that to see how that can apply to the scenario.
Okay, no, that's fine.
Yeah.
What are the different models then? Can you give just like maybe a sentence about the different how you would refer to them?
Well, I had to sort of go back and pretty much revisit them again just to have a little watch. I did like obviously the Gibbs is one that we sort of came across, and that's how we would. What is this process you would follow? I didn't see that down there.
Oh, sorry. I'll hide it again. It's all right. Just ignore anything underneath it.
I was going to say you're sneaking up on me now, Dwayne. No, so we were just mainly having just a little bit of a discussion about what we would use and how we would use it mainly.
Yeah, I think we kind of just surmised that we were going to, because it's, it's a personal thing with those scenarios. And like you said, everyone, has a different approach. So we kind of just spoke about it in general. We didn't actually come up with an answer, and we organized that we were just going to do it in our own time. Because it was it's quite a lengthy answer if you want to get into it. So we were just having a general conversation about, and I was asking a lot of questions about what to do.
Yeah, well, the three of us are quite new, so we did spend quite a lot of time just going through and figuring out where everything is and the learning activity versus the assessments and all that sort of stuff. It's good for us newbies to have time to kind of discuss with our fellow students, how to actually do this.
Yep, definitely. All right. Thanks for that, everybody. I'm going to leave that there because that's important. Two things. I mentioned it a couple of times. Discord. Just in case you're new and you missed the last couple of weeks, the link is now when you log into Accelerate. You need an account, so you need to. So why do you need it? First of all, the Discord is so that people can connect, just like you have been, and try and logistically set up role plays. There's people on here all the time trying to get role plays done. Maybe a suggestion, especially if you're new, jump on and try and help people with the role plays. Like if somebody in diploma is wanting somebody to be a client in community services, that would be a perfect opportunity to learn how they know what they're doing anyway because they've been doing it for a while. Maybe just help them out. And then as you do more practices, then you'd start to figure out what you're meant to be doing with them. Or just look for one as people are asking. Because we've got youth work, you might need to play like a teenager that's struggling with family life or AOD issues or mental health issues. You might be requested to be an NDIS client or an aged care person. Just try and jump in. So you need your own account first. Then you need to click on the invite next to the Accelerate login, which means you get taken to this page here with all the terms and conditions. That's like no abusive language. Don't start posting answers to questions that you've already had marked, things like that. Not that anybody would do that. So once you agree with all of that, then underneath you click on the thumbs up icon to agree to the terms and conditions, and you get all these channels. You get logged into them and just start looking for a role play that you can help out somebody with. That's the idea. And then when you need role plays, then just jump in and try and organize one. Also, you can have an hour a month, and this is for people that are watching the recording as well, an hour a month, which could be 2 half-hour sessions a month with a trainer or a staff member at Hader, just to if think about the future. If you missed some questions for a module, you're struggling with a role play that you haven't done yet, and the module was weeks ago and you can't even remember it, don't stress about that. Try and get something connected where you can catch up with me or another staff member just to get a rundown of what the module was about, what any role play answers might be, anything like that. So don't struggle on your own. That's the issue. You can catch up with us. You can jump on Discord. And let's have another break, mainly. So 2 videos I mentioned. We've got one of them is. Oh, the other thing, sorry, is we're talking about networking, and this is the AOD course. It's not really important for anybody else because we're AOD. This is the NADA conference. It's the network of alcohol and other drugs agencies. This is like when you work in a AOD service, whether it's a rehab, homeless service, and you're working with AOD issues, AOD clients, all of this government stats, everything, it all goes to NADA. Far out, I need to share it. I'm sorry. It all goes to NADA, the network of Alcohol and Drugs Alliance agencies. So they want to know what teenagers are using what substances, why did the over 40s suddenly start to use more ice in the last government survey a couple of years ago? How did that happen and why? Why did teenagers stop smoking as much? Was another one. But then why did vaping go up so much? So these statistics that NADA coordinate and put all together. If you were interested, they've got the conference in June in this year, a couple of months. You might know people that might be going, but it's a possibility. And if you're volunteering in AOD services already, it might be worth going. If you're thinking of getting a job there, it might be at least helpful to sign up for the newsletter. So that's that. Okay, so constructive criticism, going back there. This is a video, it's a TED talk. When somebody says constructive criticism, do you run and hide, or do you say thank you? I'll put the link in the chat. It's only 10 minutes long. They're usually about 20 minutes, TED Talks, but this one isn't. So we'll watch this till about 25 past. You've got to be very brave to say, okay, yeah, you've got constructive criticism for me. Go for it. Tell me. So we'll just. Okay, so she's like a journalism professor, professor in English language. She's teaching people how to use language to the best of their ability to communicate better. I've never really studied like that type of English literature, English language, but the people that can communicate really, really well, I admire, and I would want them to teach me. I'm not necessarily a Democrat in the US, but I do like the way people like Barack Obama speak and communicate. So there's certain people that I would respect because they've got characteristics that I would want of my own. And I guess that's where I'm moving toward mentorship. I would look for a mentor that would help me communicate the way I want to say things better. Which, when different people have said, it means slowing down your thinking, stop thinking so fast, think about what you want to say before you start waffling on. It's things like that. And that moves into question 13. Was it? No, it wasn't. It was question 12 that unfortunately I shut down. I'm sorry, but I'm wanting to go back to it. It was about SMART goals. So SMART goals started in business and moved into sport, and then eventually came into AOD and mental health work. So SMART goals, I think I vaguely remember doing it in high school. You might have seen it before. SMART means specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. So any goal, if it doesn't fit into these categories, it's not a good goal. So if you want to lose weight, how much weight do you want to lose? No, I just want to lose some weight. That's not going to help. You've already setting yourself up for a fail. Okay, I want to lose 3 kilos. How long? Oh, I don't know. I haven't really thought. I don't know how to lose weight, so I don't know how to measure how much weight I want to lose. Well, again, that's going to not set you up for a win. All right, I want to lose 3 kilos. I want to lose it in 2 weeks. Okay, well, achievable. Yes, it's achievable. It's not healthy to be losing a few kilos in a few weeks. So straight away, that's going on to something that's not going to be a SMART goal. So to describe SMART goals, come on. So specific means the goal is concrete, tangible. Everyone knows what it looks like. So you might have to write it down. When you write it down, you think that's not quite how I was thinking about it. And then you rephrase it and finally you think, yeah, that's actually what I'm thinking about. Measurable, the goal has an objective measure of success that everyone can understand. So if you write your goal down for yourself and then you show it to somebody else and say, you don't understand what you're on about, then that's not really a helpful goal. Is it attainable? The goal is challenging, but should be achievable. It should be achievable with the resources available. Is it relevant or realistic? Some people say realistic in there, which is similar to the word attainable. That's why they switch the words around. The goal meaningfully contributes to larger objectives like the overall mission. And then finally, it's got to be time-based. Any goal that isn't time-based is not a strong one. So this goal has a deadline, or better yet, a timeline of progressive milestones. So when you set the SMART goal, you might actually set lesser and lesser goals so that you can reach to it. Like I want to run a marathon. Okay, how do I start running a marathon? I start by knowing how far I can run for a start, or completely the opposite. I try to figure out how fast I can run and how long for. So, and then it builds up, and eventually I run 100 kilometers. That went into drug and alcohol work here. So I mentioned AA and NA earlier on, and there's two different ethos. So with AA and NA, it's about a lifestyle of always in recovery, and it's about working through the 12 steps, about acknowledging I've got a problem, and then eventually working through so that each step builds on the next, and I have to evaluate who I am as a person. I have to evaluate whether I've done anybody any wrong. So gradually I'm working through all these steps, and it's a whole life. It's a life change, which is why it does work. But sometimes it doesn't work. And when it doesn't work, it's because it's so big. Smart recovery is such a tiny little thing that means that people can go to a smart recovery group. It's not a lifestyle. It's not a massive life change. It's just this week in smart recovery, we're going to talk about difficult relationships, and smart goals come into it. And people would say, okay, well, it's my partner or my brother or sister. They're toxic. I can't get on with them. They take me down emotionally, and they make me want to go back to risky behaviors that I've done before. And then other people will there's no specific specialist. So it's not like having a group therapy with a psychologist in there. It's everybody jumping in and saying, look, I've got a toxic brother as well. So what I do when I don't want to use or I don't want to go down emotionally is this. And you might have 6 or 7 different people, all, it's not necessarily advice, it's just suggestions. It's constructive feedback sometimes. And you choose whether you're going to listen or whether you take it on or whether you think, yeah, okay, I'm going to try that. When you're working with, when you're working in the industry, then there's a lot of resources here as well, which means for a lot of your assessments, that could be handy. The SMART goals, life plans, goal setting, how to set short-term and medium-term and long-term goals. What else is there? Facilitated resources. And so obviously it's a group as well, and you would use a lot of the resources in the groups. I haven't got time to look all the way through it. When you've got a minute, it's good to look at it. So when in your assessment question, it's talking about setting SMART goals, and it breaks. I can remember it saying breaking them down into specific, measurable, attainable, time-based. So you have to look down each little heading and set a goal for yourself like that. And the PowerPoint, I'll jump onto the PowerPoint because the PowerPoint's commenting on that as well. So with a self-development plan, which we've got a little video for, when we're trying to improve ourselves, whether it's professional development, whether it's self-reflection, self-evaluation, whether it's for job, whether it's for mental health, whatever it's for, we've got to use, we don't have to, using the SMART model is going to help us immensely. With goal setting, trying to figure out small, medium, and long-term goals and moving from one to the next and helping us review them as well. So we have to honestly say, have I met this goal? And if I didn't meet this goal, well, that was was it an unrealistic goal, or was I not as bothered about it in the first place? So just being honest about what we're doing. When we achieve a goal, and this is why it's linked with the recovery, we get such a sense of achievement with meeting goals that it's good for our mental health. That's why earlier on when I was on about Einstein and the Danish psychologist, to expect somebody to do something that it's impossible for them to do, it lowers their confidence every time they miss it. Every time they fail at meeting this goal, it lowers the confidence even more and lowers the confidence even more. That might be a childhood for some people, unfortunately, about parents setting goals that were just impossible all the way through. To turn that round, when goals keep getting achieved, it boosts confidence, and helping clients set goals for themselves that they can achieve. When we're wanting to get them empowered and we're wanting to improve their self-esteem so that mental health issues and AOD get reduced, we're all about setting goals. That's what we have to do. Obviously, in the workplace and in the workforce, it helps us stay competitive. It impresses future clients, but this is where we're at for clients that we're working with. There's a video there. You can set SMART goals to your heart's content on the internet. The other thing I was wanting to look at is the other video. It's not really a self-development plan. It's a self-care plan. So there's an assessment. There's an assessment that you have to do on how to create a self-care plan. So there's a lot of tools about working in AOD and mental health, about what to do with the client, and smart recovery toolkits and resources for clients so that you can use that on a client. But if you don't look after yourself, you'll burn out. And because of that, you have to know how to build a self-care plan to say, I think the assessment goes something like you've had a really difficult conversation with the client, it's really traumatic, and now you have to put something in place. You have to email your boss, and that's one of the assessments, and tell them that you need some time out, and you have to use this self-care plan template that's on the First Access website, and you have to fill it all out and show what things will help you stay resilient and what things will help you get better, whether it's exercise, hobbies, breathing exercises, things like that, family contact. So you have to document these things. I'll give you the link for the video because we're not watching it now, but It's very, very important. It's just that all of that is not for this module, unfortunately. So you don't need to do a self-care plan for this module, but it is very important. So this link is important, and we're nearly finished. There you go. Working towards well-being. It's important in so many modules. When we have modules that talk about domestic family violence and dealing with working with clients that are involved in that, it's easy to get involved in what they call secondary trauma. So working in the community services sector, we work and talk with people that have gone through a lot of hell. When you listen to that every day, and that's your job, that can be a cause to get very, very unwell if we're not looking after ourselves. When you think that whether you're working in homelessness or you're working in mental health work, AOD work, the amount of trauma and hell that people have gone through, some people, it just washes over them and they can't, they just don't care. And some people in community services working are like that. And we do wonder why they're helping people, because they just don't care. And then other people get too involved. And after listening to a few stories, they can get traumatized themselves. And it's difficult when you're talking to somebody that's 20 something and they're trying to give up heroin, and you're talking to them about their life and they say, well, when my uncle taught me how to use a needle when I was 9 years old, it's been hard to give up since then. So listening to that hour after hour after hour, 40 hours a week, we have to be resilient and keep our mind and our emotions strong.